I always struggle to see the appeal of pickup trucks. I just think they're a little bit impractical. People don't really use the pickup bed in the back. But something like this, where I can fit my whole family in a lot of comfort, plus then have the bed at the back to go on adventures, to take bikes, to anything like that, really is beginning to appeal to me in quite a big way. I think we can all agree that we want certain things from our vehicles: safety, reliability. Some of us want a touch of comfort, and some want a dash of luxury. But what we really want is a car which can do all of that, a Swiss Army knife of vehicles. Which brings me nicely onto this. This is the Radar RD6 from Geely, and we're going to find out if it can do city, country, comfort, and with copious amounts of capacity. Oh, and did I mention, this costs less than $25,000 US. So welcome to the mountains of Hangzhou, and welcome to the Fully Charged Show.
Like the Fully Charged Show? Then you will love our 6 live shows being held around the world in 2023, starting with Sydney, Australia on March the 11th and 12th.
So pickup trucks or utes are not particularly common in countries such as the UK or Europe. Also, they're not very common in China, unlike the US, Australia and Southeast Asia. So what on earth are Geely doing? Well, interestingly, they've created the first affordable pickup truck, probably for international markets. It was only recently that in a few cities in China, these were actually allowed to drive in the cities. Places like Shanghai, they're still banned. But there's been a huge increase in interest in adventure lifestyles and those sorts of things here in China. And Geely think they can fit into that niche with the RD6. So let's find out how well they've done. Can you hear that? All you can hear are the sound of birds, and it's lovely. And Geely want to tap into this lifestyle by creating this, a clean vehicle which has driven us up into the mountains to take part in hiking or cycling, whatever else we want to do here. And thankfully we can do that thanks to this massive bed here. You can fit in a number of bikes. This is 1,200 litres of space. Now, interestingly, the VW ID Buzz that Jack reviewed just the other week has 1,120, so it's only a little bit bigger than that. And the practicality doesn't stop there either, because down here we have V2L or V2V capabilities. There's both a 10 amp, 2 of those, and a 16 amp plug, which you can plug in your gadgets, your gizmos, your portable barbecues into. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Chinese consumers take part in this lifestyle with the RD6. So I think there's been a bit of a battle with this car between the designers and the aesthetics and the practicality. So plus 1 point for the frunk, 70 litres of space in here, that's great. However, minus 1 point for the ground clearance. That is going to hit a lot of rocks. We're driving on quite a rough surface today. I was worried about hitting the rocks myself. Now, this has been designed by the UK Geely design team, and I think it looks pretty good. It's fairly inoffensive, nothing too garish, and I think kind of that practical aesthetic really comes out. But it doesn't stop there. Now, if you come around the side, the wheels, these are 17 inches, no 22-inch massive rims like most SUVs now, which can't even go off-road, with high-profile tyres as well. Again, door handles, big trend at the moment of door handles being flush. Not always the most practical. If you've got a bike, you just put it in the back, maybe you've got your riding gloves on. Having a door handle like this is so much easier. Now, this is the mid-range model we've got here today. It's got a 86 kilowatt-hour battery underneath the car, giving around about 500 kilometers of CLTC range. And that's with the car half loaded. Of course, it comes with the AC and DC fast chargers on both sides here. So again, it's both a little bit luxurious and a little bit practical. So Radar is a new brand from Geely. It's not a one-off vehicle. There's going to be multiple vehicles following this in the next few years. I just want to take a moment to talk about the name. So Radar, these all mean something different. This means rational, great. Alone, okay. Discovery, good. Accompany, we did just say alone a minute ago, it's accompany, fine. Romantic. Is this a romantic pickup truck to you? I'm not so sure, but we will find out a bit later on. I would call it something like the radical, all-road, discovery, adventure ride. That would be my suggestion. So this really is a bit of a Frankenstein of a car, because when you come into the interior, you completely forget about the pickup bed in the back. But the practicality doesn't stop there, because underneath the seats, we have another 48 litres of space under both of these seats, which really helps with the practical nature of this pickup. Now on the interior for the rear passengers, again, you don't really feel like you're in a pickup at all. Material quality is great. There's not much in terms of massive features in here. There's no silly surround sound. There's a couple of USB slots, air conditioning, that's about it. But this is about driving into the countryside and going on an adventure. One thing I do want to point out is these gargantuan door handles, which I think you can fit about 3 of my hands in. Again, if you're parked up, you've got a puffer jacket on, you maybe got your big gloves on, you're going skiing, having something like that, which is really easy to open and close, is great. Another good touch from the Radar team. So on the interior front, this is where I can tell the Radar designers have had a bit more fun. And so I have 2 12.3-inch screens in front of me. There's also a 9-inch HUD, not on this model. This is a pre-production car, but that is coming in the final model. Most importantly though, and I have these tactile buttons down here to control all of my air conditioning. And these are proper chunky and really easy to control. That's great, because Geely were one of the worst offenders when it came to having these horrible non-tactile buttons all over here. That is good. Again, adds to the practicality. I have the gear knob here, which is one of the most frustrating experiences I have had in a car in recent times. And I'm going to tell you more about that when I'm driving it. But then, importantly, I've got more tactile buttons here to change your drive mode. So for example, if you're going up a slippery slope, you need to turn the traction control off. One press of the button here is all it needs. This is a really good mix of things which need to be on the screen, stay on the screen, hidden in the menus, but the things which you really need to control most of the time, air conditioning, your drive modes, are all tactile buttons. Really, really good, and I like that. One last feature, as I'm enjoying this mountain air, is we've got a massive 55-inch glass roof, which really helps with the light feeling in this cabin. Overall, very comfortable and a good driving experience for what is a pickup. So driving on these mountain roads as we are now, you really wouldn't feel like you're in a pickup truck. Pickup trucks typically, for us in the UK anyway, these pretty old diesely, rattly things, not especially good. But this just feels, especially in the interior as well, like an SUV. You know, it's got all of the luxury. I feel very comfortable. You know, there's nothing really to complain about in here. It does the tight corners exceptionally well. It's got quite a good turning circle. You know, Geely or Radar have had to work within the limitations of a car like this. You know, it's got to be a certain weight, it's going to be a certain size, but they've made it feel quite nimble and agile in corners like this. On the motorway as well, completely fine, very easy to drive. It has L2 Plus in terms of its driving automation, which is basically lane assist, and that's all built in as well. Now there is one thing I do have a big complaint about, and that is this knob down here. So instead of when you usually put it into reverse, it's just one click from neutral, from drive, one click, you're in reverse. One click forward, you're in drive. This, you click it once, it goes into neutral. Neutral's not useful for anyone. Click it again, and then it goes into reverse. However, the clicking isn't that good and not very precise. You have to do it quite slowly. So if you're turning around at a traffic light and there's people behind you honking their horns, you've got to rely on the speed of this knob down here. Really, really frustrating. I hope they fix that. I just hope that's a pre-production model gaff, and that will get sorted out in time. Now, with the rate that Geely are buying up British sports car companies, they've bought Lotus, of course, they've just bought a stake in Aston Martin, you hope that some of that engineering and technology will begin to trickle down to trucks like this. Now, it seems silly to say that Lotus could potentially in the future, engineer a pickup truck like this, but it's not out of the question. I mean, why not? If they've got the technology, they've got the engineers, they've already got the British designers, then they could put them onto the radar, the next radar, maybe a sporty version. That would be great fun. And of course, in the US, these massively fast pickup trucks like the Raptors are extremely popular. So to have something like a radar Raptor, with tuned suspension would also fit a certain market segment as well. Now, this is certainly not an off-road beast at all, but it can handle these rough roads here in Hangzhou. We're going up a relatively steep incline now. It's a bumpy road, as you'll probably see in just a second, but it handles it pretty well. It's rear-wheel drive. This is not the dual motor version. That one's coming out later in the year, which will obviously give a lot more control, but this can cope with it fine. It's absolutely no problem. I do worry about hitting something, the rocks, or bottoming out, because it is quite low. That's one complaint I do have. And in terms of interior quality, there's no squeaks, no rattles. The only thing I can hear, and I heard on the motorway, was the whine of the electric motor. That was a little noisy. I would say they need to maybe work a little bit more on controlling that sound. Now, interestingly, this is based on the same underpinnings, the same platform as the Zeekr, which we took around a race circuit last year. So it has the same electric motor in the rear, same sort of kind of architecture underneath the car. And the insane thing is, in sports mode, why a pickup truck has sports mode, I don't really know. This can do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 6 seconds. However, on the dual motor version, which is coming out later this year or early next year, that will do 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in less than 4 seconds in a pickup. Now, they're obviously going after a certain market segment with that one. Why you would need to go that fast, I'm not really sure. But again, it just shows the versatility of this ute, this pickup. It can do the speedy stuff in the city on the motorway, and then it can do this bumpy stuff as well as we're driving around. Really is, as I said, a Swiss Army knife and can do a bit of everything. Unfortunately, I will never be able to own one of these in Shanghai due to the regulations. But perhaps that will change in the next few years. Maybe they'll start letting these EV pickups enter the cities, and there's something like this. It's the same size as an SUV. For you guys overseas, I think this is a great vehicle. I think it has bundles of practicality. It looks pretty good, pretty inoffensive, but most importantly, it comes at a good price. It's an EV, and it has a little bit of luxury and comfort on the inside. A great all-rounder. So I just want to take a moment to really admire the view behind me. Bamboo forests. This is a tea plantation just behind us. This is absolutely stunning, and we really do have the weather for it today. But I think overall, what is there not to like about this car? It's one of the cheapest pickups in the world. It's got British design, it's got Chinese engineering, batteries and technology. It's a great mix, and all for that low price of around 25,000 US dollars. Now, Geely are very savvy when it comes to selling cars overseas. Look at the Polestar and look at some of their other models as well. They won't double this in price when they move it to overseas. They're not just going to sell this in China. It's too niche of a market. So this is definitely going overseas, and probably in markets which don't have a lot of disposable income for big trucks. So if they can pare down the luxury and maybe use the basic model, then this could be onto a real sales success. And I think I've realized what the R in the name means, the romance. This car, this ute, this pickup makes you fall in love with it because it kind of just does everything really, really well. So that's all we've got time for. I hope you've enjoyed this episode from Hangzhou. I've really enjoyed driving around these mountain roads today. We have plenty more episodes coming from China very soon. We have our Patreon links, our YouTube memberships around this video. And if you have been, thank you for watching.